Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to episode 78 of the Daily Manchester City podcast on the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network giving you exclusive news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's and fantasy football. Every club, every day. I'm Jools Probert and I'm delighted to be joined by Greater Manchester's finest, Lewis Royal. Hi, Lewis.
Hi, what an honour to start the podcast with. I was probably in a better mood than I was midweek this week, and hopefully it won't be as good as my mood on Sunday evening, but I won't speak too soon.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a massive week for Manchester City and it just keeps getting bigger. It's the four-time consecutive Premier League champions, host current table toppers and favourites to relinquish City's grasp on the title, Liverpool. City, of course, got dumped out of the Champions League in the midweek, as you mentioned there, by the reigning European champions Real Madrid, including a masterful performance and hat-trick by one Kylian Mbappe. So attention's now turned to Sunday afternoon, where one of modern football's greatest battles will commence as Arne Slott's side travel to the cauldron of the Etihad in what promises to be a mouth-watering clash of the Titans. A lot of people thought February might define City's season, with games against Arsenal, Newcastle, two against Madrid, Liverpool and bogey team Spurs all on the docket. Bar the Newcastle game and just scraping over the line against Leyton Orient in the FA Cup, it's been a bit of an unmitigated disaster so far, especially the 5-1 loss at the Emirates. So, after crashing out of the Champions League, the only route back into Europe's premier competition is via league position. So how important is this match against Liverpool in rectifying what's been a crazy February and getting City back on track, Lewis?
Yeah, it's massive in my opinion. I think that we know Liverpool are still favourites for the title. I know they dropped 2 points last night to Villa. Villa could have won it towards the end. Liverpool had chances in the final moments. But I think that in terms of the City and Liverpool rivalry, it has been one of the biggest ones over the last decade or just a bit less than a decade. Arsenal fans want to join the party and say that they're our rival. They love being City's nemesis, but it's only been for 2 years and they haven't won any silverware. Whereas Liverpool can definitely back that up with the trophies they've won and ultimately the players that they've produced that have gone down as, especially this season with Mo Salah, ultimate icons of the Premier League. But for City, I do think that, us and Liverpool have both played midweek, so Liverpool aren't just going to be fresh legs in comparison to us. But I think that, yeah, a win against Liverpool would be huge for our fan base, huge for Pep, and that hopefully would spur the end of our season to secure top four, which is what we're going for now. And as well as obviously we're still in the FA Cup, which could be a bit of silverware, which would turn our season around. So
Yeah. Yeah, like you say, I think this has been one of definitely England's top rivalry since Pep has been there. The Pep and Klopp rivalry has captured the hearts and imaginations of fans all across the globe. And City's record since 2016, when Pep arrived, is played 23, won 7, drawn 7, lost 9, which I think is the poorest record against any team for City in that period. It shows how close those battles with Liverpool have been. That also included significant losses in the 2018 Champions League quarter-final and the 2022 FA Cup semis, but huge wins as well, including a 5-0 Leroy Sané-inspired hammering in 2017, 4-0 in 2020 when Liverpool had just won the title, and even 4-1 at Anfield in 2021, a Gundogan at the peak of his powers getting a brace in that one. Do any of those matches or any others over the last few years stand out to you, bring back any lasting memories?
yeah, the one specifically which you've spoken before in a crossover with Liverpool when Leroy Sané made it 2-1 at the Etihad to break Liverpool's crazy unbeaten streak of 25 or 26 matches, something like that. When it started off with John Stones, blasting the ball against Edison's hands and then clearing it off the line by less than an inch. It was something that we've not seen since in them circumstances. And then obviously Aguero doing what he does best from the near post, opening the scoring for us, and then Firmino clapped back with a goal, but then Sané on the attack off the post and won us the game. And I think that ultimately was at the season where it was 99 points to 98 or something ridiculous like that. The second most points in the Premier League. well, the second club to have the most points in the Premier League, Liverpool, with 98, surely thought they would have won it. If it was any other season, except our Centurion season and that season, then they would have won it in the however many years of the Premier League. What is it, 32 now, 33, something like that. So yeah, I think it's that game for me it stands out as a core memory versus Liverpool, and it was ultimately remarkable.
Yeah, and the slightest difference could mean the title come the end of the season. Liverpool fans probably don't remember that year too fondly, but yeah, an inch or more over the line and it could have been a completely different story. But as it stands, Jurgen Klopp only has the one Premier League during Pep Guardiola's reign. Would you agree that Liverpool have still been the sternest test for Manchester City during that time, though?
Yeah, I think they definitely have. I don't think anyone comes close, really. We've had that rivalry with Liverpool, which started ultimately it's the Pep versus Klopp era. It's almost like, Alex Ferguson. You got Arsene Wenger and Mourinho as like a little battle going on in the noughties and into the 2010s. But then the latest rivalry going into the late 2010s and into the 2020s has been Pep versus Klopp. And like I mentioned before, Arteta wants to get in on the party, but he just needs to stay humble. So yeah, I think that it has been a good test for us because no one else has really tested the incredible City side over the past 5, 6 years, apart from Liverpool. So it certainly wasn't going to be United. So yeah, I think that it'll certainly be a rivalry that'll go down in Premier League history.
Absolutely. It's right at the top of the list for not only the passion and intensity, but the quality and the standard of football. I think they were the two undoubtedly best teams in Europe at the time, really. And the amount of goals and the quality of the football, yeah, it was a joy to watch. In more recent times, last season at the Etihad, Haaland became the quickest player to reach 50 goals, scoring in what turned out to be a 1-1 draw with Trent getting the equaliser. And this season, in the reverse fixture, Liverpool comfortably won 2-0 thanks to strikes from Cody Gakpo and, of course, the on-fire Mo Salah. What makes these games with Liverpool so special then, even as we're kind of getting, obviously we're out of the Klopp era now, but it still feels like it's got that huge match feel?
I think it's like you said. It's we both have, as two now massive English clubs. We know how big Liverpool is as a club. We both have the utmost respect for one another. Arne Slot has obviously now come in, taken over Klopp, but he's almost carried that. He's carrying that legacy on from the foundations that Klopp has built. And obviously, you're going to have respect for Pep, although he's having his worst ever season. But I think that's what makes it. It's the atmosphere. When they do come to the Etihad, it increases compared to if you just play the likes of Fulham, for example. But yeah, I do think that over the recent years, it has made it so remarkable, like you said, due to the quality of football that we have been playing. I mean, that game that I spoke about was probably two of the best teams in the Premier League that we've seen over the last decade, and it was so high quality. There was absolutely no room for error.
Ever, perhaps, could be two of the best teams we've ever
Yeah.
seen.
No room for error, and everything had to be perfect. Every pass, every opportunity, every chance had to be taken to perfection. And we saw how small the deficit was with that John Stones clearance. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. After this short break, we'll come back and look a bit more in depth at the Liverpool team and who from City can stop what they have got cooking.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionique, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionique provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN 2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionique. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Manchester City podcast on the Global Sports Podcast Network. And what's right for us is to discuss Liverpool, how good they've been this season. They have been absolutely flying. Lewis, you mentioned that they drew to Everton. Of course, they drew in that breathtaking Merseyside derby as well. But otherwise, Liverpool have been amazing and the standout team this season. Carabao Cup final against Newcastle to come, comfortably top in the Champions League group stage. And the Reds are still sitting pretty at the top of the Premier League on 61 points. 8 clear of surely the only realistic challengers at this point in Arsenal, albeit the Gunners do have a game in hand, so the title race is definitely still on. So biases aside, how impressed have you been with Liverpool this season under Arne Slot?
Yeah, I've been very impressed. I mean, we didn't know how Slott was going to do coming in, taking over such an astounding time at Liverpool that Klopp did had, but all good things come to an end. However, Arne Slot is another good thing for Liverpool fans. I think they've took to him immediately. I mean, from the start of this season, at the start of the season, sorry, I didn't really have Liverpool challenging for the title. I did think it was going to be a two-horse race again with Arsenal and Man City. But he started the season off so cool, so well, and he's also retained it and he's stayed consistent. Obviously, we mentioned 2 draws in the last 2 games, but they're both tough games. One at Goodison against the noisy neighbours, and then one at Aston Villa, which is never going to be easy with the quality that they have. So, yeah, I think certain players have definitely impressed me this season. Gravenberch has come out of his shell, and he's almost ruled that midfield. He's shown why he has signed for Liverpool. McAllister, I've always been a massive fan of, especially when he was at Brighton. Um, Also in the World Cup for Argentina, really liked McAllister. The way he threads passes, the way he also wins the ball back, and he's almost unpressable sort of. He's one of them type players. And then you've got their defence, how solid their defence is, with Trent being linked to Madrid, obviously, as we know, but his delivery it just gets better and better each year. It's outstanding. And obviously, he's had a bit of hard time for the national team, but in terms of how far club football goes, it's argued that he is the best Premier League right back of all time, and he's still got a big career ahead of him at just 27 is he, I think. So yeah, and then obviously the best defender in the world this season, Van Dijk, definitely arguably in the world, definitely in the league, the best centre back. I think he's untouchable. I think that in one-on-one situations, he's superb, and he's one of them that makes the game look so easy. He's just so relaxed on the ball, and yeah, I think he's superb. And with him in that back line, it is very hard to break Liverpool down. And then with the attack they've got flourishing, they've got it at both ends really. So yeah, it makes for a superb team.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on Gravenberch there. He's been a revelation, really, isn't he? There's only 2 players that have played every single game in the Premier League for Liverpool this season. One is Mo Salah, who we will come on to next, of course, the star man. But Ryan Gravenberch has completely flipped the script on everything, I think. We mentioned in the season preview, because he started being played there as that kind of lone pivot. I said that I don't think he had the right la posa, the right composure in the right moments, but he absolutely does. And not only that, he's 6'4" and as fast as anyone, great in the air, great on the ball, good passing, can dribble, can press resist. Yeah. He has been the game changer for them, I think, and he has allowed someone like Mo Salah to do what he's done this year. And that is scoring 24 goals and 15 assists after just 26 games in the Premier League, which is absolutely outrageous and on course to break the record for most goal contributions in the Premier League season. The current tied record for most ever goal contributions in a 38-game Premier League season is Henry, who achieved 24 goals and 20 assists in 02-03, and Haaland, of course, who smashed in a record 36 goals alongside 8 assists in his inaugural campaign. But this year, it's very much been Mo Salah. It's all been about Salah. He just cannot stop scoring, cannot stop assisting. So, Lewis, do you expect him to surpass those numbers and go on to break that record? And how does City stop him?
Yeah, I definitely think if he stays at Liverpool, we know he's been rumoured to go to Saudi or elsewhere, that he will. Um, obliterate many records, because he's one of them players where he's compared to the likes of Hazard and Bale and them type of players. And I think that pure footballing ability and how gifted you are on the ball, and in their prime, I think for me, Hazard is better than Salah. He looks more of a footballer, if that makes any sense. On the ball, his skills, the way he dribbles. But it's deceiving when you watch Salah because he doesn't look like that superstar, like how Messi dribbles with the ball, for example. Because he is going for the Ballon d'Or at the end of this year, I'm sure. So that can be a comparison. But he always gets the ball in the back of the net, or he always finds that killer pass, and it's just unbelievable to watch. And he's been so good, so consistent this season, both in the Premier League, in Europe. And yeah, I hate Liverpool, but I can't sing Salah's praises enough. I think that, yeah, he'll definitely go down as a club legend, whether he leaves at the end of this season, whether he stays until he retires, which a lot of Liverpool fans would love, I'm sure. But yeah, like you said, 40 goals and assists this season in what, 24 games. I mean, do the math. That's like one goal a game. I'm joking. Do the math. That's like nearly 2 goals a game, isn't it? So yeah, I think that, yeah, he's a wondrous player to watch.
Definitely. And how does City stop him? Just cross your
We
fingers
cross,
and hope.
yeah, I was going to say we
Yeah.
cross, we cross our fingers, look to the sky and hope for the best. But hopefully we'll be looking at his feet and trying to tackle the ball off him before he releases it or before he strikes it into the back of the net. Hopefully Edison can stay on his line and not get lobbed this game. You know, we don't want to make it three in a row. Third time lucky, yeah, you can. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we just got to try our best, and I'm not got much hope.
Yeah, just on what you said about Salah then, I think he's an efficiency over aesthetics type of player, isn't he? And ultimately that is what wins you games. Everyone always talks about the Salah v Hazard debate, but it's not really a debate, is it? Hazard might have more ability on the ball, but what does that ability achieve? And Salah, every time he gets the ball, it's as if he's going to create a goal or score a goal every single time. And Hazard could have been that guy, but he has never had the consistency or the numbers or possibly the influence at the European level. Because Hazard never really did it in the Champions League for Chelsea. So I think that debate is getting squashed more and more as the years go on, in my opinion. So thinking of City, what is City going to have to do to get the job done against the league leaders?
I think it's going to be tough. Obviously, we're at home for this game. Hopefully, the fans will be riled up for it, and it will be a good atmosphere, like I mentioned, it has been in recent years. But I think we've just got to get that first goal because it's a lot. It's mentally for City this season. Like me and Jack spoke on yesterday when we went 1-0 down. I said whoever gets the first goal is going to win the game against Madrid, and I think it's going to be something similar because you just see our heads drop. You see Pep get fuming, and it's almost an added pressure to impress the manager. And then obviously we've got our fans all there. That's going to add to the pressure, and especially for new signings like Gonzalez, Kusanov, who aren't experienced in massive fixtures like this, who haven't experienced this rivalry yet. It's going to be a big test, and I do think that on the day I'm going to have to throw a lot of it. We're going to have to be very clinical in front of goal. And we're also going to have to retain the ball a lot because Liverpool are good at that, and they're also good at hitting teams on the counter, which this season we're not that good at. So yeah, it is going to be a real tough challenge. But if we can take anything from the game, I will see that as a win for me.
And yeah, you spoke about being clinical. Might have to do it without Erling Haaland, who of course wasn't there midweek. He could be back, but he also might not be. And if he isn't there, then a lot of that burden, I think, will be put on Omar Marmoush, who didn't have his best game against Madrid in midweek. He looked a bit lost, but I think Madrid can do that to anyone. Other than that, I think he's had an exhilarating start to life at the Etihad. And with Trent inevitably always looking to bomb forward and affect the game, surely this presents a huge opportunity for City's own Egyptian king to do some damage here.
Yeah, I definitely think he'll be confident after scoring a hat trick at the Etihad. He'll be confident coming out again there. And yeah, like you said, with Trent bombing on forward, it gives him a chance to drive at players. I don't think that Madrid allowed him that opportunity whatsoever. I think that every time he tried to get the ball out of his feet and use his sharpness to accelerate away, he was immediately shut down. Obviously, Valverde was playing right back. We all know how good Valverde is. He kept him quiet. And as a number nine role, it's not where he played against Newcastle. But like you said, with Haaland out, I think that it's just a case of him getting some shots off. We've seen how venomous he is in front of goal. And I mean, last night we didn't have a shot on target until Phil Foden took a pot shot from like 30 yards out in like the 70th, 75th minute. So it's just a case of testing Liverpool really, putting them on the back foot and making them nervous. You know, they've not had a win in 2 matches. It's up for grabs. So it all depends on the day, and hopefully we can come out firing, and Marmoush can show glimpses, if not the full performance that he gave us from Newcastle with a goal or two.
Yeah, definitely looking to see some more bravery on the ball, I think. Pep's obviously tried to change it up a few times, and bringing in someone like Marmoush, who's so direct, I think is testament to that. But yeah, I think if City don't get on the front foot and scare Liverpool, let them know that they're there early, as the adage is. But otherwise, Liverpool will just control the game, and we've seen them do it to multiple teams this season, and we've seen multiple teams take it away from City. So yeah, I think those early stages are going to be very important. Is there anyone else you have the faith in to stand up and dig out a big performance here from City's perspective?
Yeah, I want to see Gonzalez trying to control that midfield. We know it's hard on his own, but whoever's next to him, I hope it's not. I wouldn't start Gundogan at all. I think that I'd probably start Kovacic next to him. He can do the dribbling, he can do the driving out of defence, and Gonzalez can sit there almost like a Rodri, a mini Rodri as Pep referred to him as, and sort of hold the fort down in midfield. Kusanov, I did think that he played well against Madrid. I think that the commentary, definitely from Rio Ferdinand, for example, was very biased towards his Ballon d'Or winner. But yeah, I think he kept him quiet ultimately. We didn't hear about Vinny yesterday so much. Mbappe stole the headlines, and Vinny's the one who was challenging Rodri for that Ballon d'Or, and Uzbekistanian from the French league has just kept him quiet, kept up with him on the wing, and ultimately outstrengthed him on a few occasions. And I think that the inexperience he's had in Europe to go to the Bernabeu, the new Bernabeu Stadium with an unbelievable atmosphere, probably one of the best in Europe, if not the best, is fantastic. And he's going to be up against the likes of Luis Diaz, Diogo Jota, Szoboszlai maybe coming out to that side on attack. So I hope he can impress, and it'll fulfill me with confidence with all the injuries that we are getting in defence. With John Stones being injured again yesterday, that he can earn his place in the back line, because he's better than Nunes defensively. It goes without saying. So yeah, hopefully that I do wish him well tomorrow on Sunday evening.
Yeah, really, bar those first 5 minutes, he's just looked better and better since, isn't he? So yeah, very promising, especially with how disastrous that opening start
Yeah.
to life at City was for him. So I think it's even more impressive that he's been able to regain his composure and work his way into the team. And yeah, I mean, you go to the Bernabeu, you can, like, any team can concede 3 goals at the Bernabeu, can't they? To one of the world's best players. So yeah, I think he did do a good job against Finney, and it could have been a lot worse if he didn't. So finally, let's get a score prediction from you. You back in the boys?
Yeah, of course. We've got about the boys. We'll go. I think it'll be quite cagey, but I mean, we've seen how many goals get scored in City's matches this season. So I'll go with a 4-3 City. Big scoring
Oh,
affair, and hopefully we'll be 3-2 down in the 86th minute, and we pull it back and make a change from always conceding two in the final minutes. That would be nice.
maybe the trick is to get a lead of more than 2, but then we've seen Feyenoord, that doesn't always work either, does it?
No,
So
it isn't.
yeah, maybe we just all out attack at this point. Go hell for leather. Conceded anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
And that is how you lose 7-0 to Liverpool at home. We're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we're going to look quickly at some of the other fixtures in the Premier League this weekend.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we've spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and let me tell you, Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, then check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Manchester City podcast on the Global Sports Podcast Network. This match day ends with the biggest fixture that we've just ran through. Manchester City v Liverpool. It doesn't get any bigger than that. But of course, there's action all around the Premier League this weekend, and we're going to quickly go through some of the other games, and there's some real crackers in store as well. So first, on Friday night, we have Leicester versus Brentford. Leicester desperately needs some more points in their relegation battle, and Brentford have been a pretty good team this season, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, at the start, which is a blunder from me, I did have Brentford 17th or 18th, possibly going down with the loss of Tony. I thought that I've always just got an inkling that the time would come sooner rather than later, and they did go back down to the Championship. But they started the season off really well. Um, Home form, fantastic. Obviously, away form, or is it the other way around? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
One of the two
home
is,
form has been great for them, yeah.
yeah, struggling away from home. But who did you say they're playing?
Leicester at the King Power.
Oh, right, Leicester. Yeah. I thought it was. Yeah, every game for Leicester is a cup final, realistically. They were rumoured to have that a points deduction at the start, which didn't happen. So I think a lot of people maybe had them staying up. I know a lot of people have fancied Ipswich out of the three promoted sides, but I want Leicester to do well. I don't just want all three promoted sides to go back down. Like I've said before, it's increasing the gap from the Premier League between all the other leagues, especially financially ultimately. But in terms of a score prediction, Brentford Leicester. Who's at home? Brentford.
Leicester.
Leicester at home. I'll go with a 2-1 Leicester win for me. I'd like to see that happen, and I can't say that I don't see it happening.
And that would be a huge result for Leicester. Depending on how Wolves do, that would take them out of the relegation zone. They're
Yeah.
2 points off at the moment. Wolves themselves have a very tricky game away to high-flying Bournemouth. I think they've been, well, obviously Notts Forest, who we'll get to, have been the surprise package. But if there was a runners-up medal, it would definitely be Bournemouth, wouldn't it? How would you see this one going?
Yeah, Wolves versus Bournemouth. I mean, before this season, I'd see that as an unwatchable fixture and a crap game for the neutral. Excuse my language, but yeah, I think Bournemouth this season have shocked everyone under Areola. I think that they've been absolutely fantastic. I mean, their attack. We've spoken them before before we played them with Kluivert, Semenyo, and the likes of Kirkez in left back. Ultimately outperforming his expectations at the start of the season. But I think that with Wolves, they definitely looked a bit better over the last few weeks. They defeated Villa at home, didn't they? So I do think that, like I said, towards the start of the season, that they just had a dodgy start. I know it's carried on not the best, but I see them getting a result against Bournemouth. I'll probably go with a 1-1 draw.
Back in the relegation, boys.
Of
Interesting.
course.
I mean, there's normally a point of the season, isn't there, when the teams at the top stop winning and the teams at the bottom start to pick up points. And you'd imagine out of those 4 teams that are down in the relegation battle, really, because there's another 8-point gap to West Ham in 16th, that Wolves have a lot more quality than the other 3, especially with a player like Mateus Cunha, who's arguably on the verge of world class. The other 3 teams can't compete with someone that's that decisive. Speaking of a team that were in the relegation battle, but nowhere near it now, since David Moyes has taken over, Everton have been the form team in the Premier League. The only game they've not won in the last 5 was that Merseyside derby at Liverpool, and even that felt like a win, especially for the fans. They're at home to arguably the least form team in the league, Man United. They're only 1 point separates the 2 teams. Everton are above United, but you'd have to say Everton are favourites going into this one.
Yeah, I think just an early score prediction. I'd probably go 4-0 to Everton. and I'm not even taking the mick with that. I think that,
It was
Goodison.
4-0 United in the reverse fixture, and I think it was Amarim's first home game or something like that.
Yeah, now I recall that. Yeah, it was his first home game. I think that the tables can turn very easily. They've overtook United in the table now, haven't they? They're up to 14th. United sitting in 15th. So it's a bottom half of the table clash between the 1999 treble winners and Everton. So yeah, I think that with Everton's form, there's a heightened suspense at Goodison now. We're coming to the last few games that'll ever take place from Everton at such a historic stadium as the new one is being used now by the youth teams, and we've seen how good and promising that looks. And I think that every game from now on at home is gonna just be, like I said, it's gonna be heightened. The atmosphere is gonna be electric, and against the United team who've now lost Ahmad to the end of the season, they're probably going to have to start Casemiro in midfield. It's not going to be great, and in my opinion, Everton are going to continue their amazing form, and yeah, I think they're going to dominate United, and I would love to see them obliterate them score line wise.
And it's probably the first time in a few seasons that Everton have got to this point and they're not really in a relegation battle anymore, which is just crazy because a month ago they were. So I cannot overstate the job that David Moyes has done. The fans and the club are in harmony again. Yeah, like you say, so much can change so quickly in football. And Goodison Park is going to be absolutely rocking, even more so now that the nervousness of that relegation battle has pretty much gone as well. So yeah, I do not envy Amarim taking United there in pursuit of very valuable 3 points for him, because he might go at the end of the season. You can't just keep losing. It's like
I know.
there's a line, surely. But yeah. Anyway, next we'll move on to Ipswich versus Spurs. Ipswich, of course, won the reverse fixture at the new White Hart Lane. Pretty the start of the awful form for Ange Postecoglou's side. They've won the last two, though, and they've got themselves up to 12th. But still only 1 point ahead of Man United in 15th, 3 ahead of West Ham in 16th. So they're not out of the dirt yet. 7 points away from Brighton in the top half. This might be as good as it gets for Spurs this season, but you'd surely still think they've got enough to beat Ipswich now that a lot of the injuries have come back as well.
Yeah, it sort of opposes the Everton aspect because it's you look at mid-table teams who aren't really fighting for anything. They're not fighting to stay up. They're not fighting for Europe. They're just sort of just there in the middle of the table. But Everton have that pride because they have been in the relegation battle the last few seasons, because they've got Moyes back, and because things are looking up with a new stadium. But I don't think the Spurs players almost have that pride because they're looked at as such a like an embarrassment of a club. Realistically, that is what they are viewed as, with having such an empty cabinet. But it's always nice to see, for me and other Big Six fans, see the likes of Tottenham and United struggling. I'd hope that they don't win another game to the end of the season, and both have to fight for relegation. I think it's a little too late for that, but like you said, Ipswich beat them 2-1 at their place, and Liam Delap Patrick is talking to me in my head. So I was actually going to go with an Ipswich 3-2 win and get them out the relegation zone and make it a bit more interesting and put pressure on Wolves again.
Well, I mean, if all of them win, then they're going to still be in the relegation zone, aren't they?
Yeah,
But yeah, there's no reason why Ipswich can't do them again. To be honest, Liam Delap looks mustard. He looks really good. Next, we have Southampton versus Brighton. South Coast. Wouldn't say derby, but they're both down there, aren't they? Brighton won their last match, but went off the boil after what was a really promising start for new manager Hertzler. They've suffered a load of draws this year. They've drawn 10 games. They've only lost 6, which only Arsenal and Liverpool have lost fewer than them, but they just can't get over the line enough. You'd have thought that they'd have been on the fringes of Europe come the start of the season. They are just about still hanging on there. Southampton, of course, the complete opposite. Looks like there's no hope. I do think they've improved under the new manager, to be fair. I do think they're in more games and they're creating more chances. They're conceding less chances, but they just don't have the quality in the squad, and it's too little too late, isn't it?
Yeah, I think people have written off just on Brighton. I think they've written them off from Europe, but I mean, looking at the table, they're still only 4 points off Newcastle, who are apparently having an amazing season. So I know they went through a rough patch, but yeah, I wouldn't write them off too soon. They have just beat Chelsea back to back. I know Chelsea are struggling now down to sixth. But I mean, the quality that they have with Matoma, I mean, his touch for that goal he scored against
Oh,
Chelsea was just sublime. It was nothing we've seen for a while. It was Bergkamp-esque, and it was honestly just something else. And against Southampton, I see them getting the job done definitely, continuing the little run that they're trying to start. I mean, Southampton, I think a lot of people had them to come bottom this season. They've been absolutely atrocious. They're one of them yo-yo teams, especially over the recent years of just going up and down, getting all that money from the Prem, using it to win the Championship, then going back up and not taking enough risks to ultimately try and stay up, which is what we've seen the likes of Brighton do and Brentford do so well. But yeah, I've got a soft spot for Derby. I went to uni there, and they currently hold the Premier League record for having the lowest points with 11. So come on, Brighton this weekend. The Southampton still sit on 9. There's still hope.
yeah, we both went to that university, so yeah, I back that.
Um,
I got a soft spot for Derby County too. But next, we're going to talk about Derby County's arch rivals, Nottingham Forest, who were a great example of someone that spent a lot to maintain their position in the Premier League. They went up really surprisingly. They were bottom of the table when Steve Cooper took over them and when he got them promoted. So they didn't expect to go up the way they did. Completely overhauled the squad, spent about 150 million to do so. Now they've got Nuno in and they are reaping the rewards. I mean, I did not see this coming with Forest. I'm pretty sure I had them there or thereabouts to go down at the start of the year. I just didn't see where the goals were coming from. Well, there's a big old Kiwi that's slapping me in the face right now because Chris Wood just cannot stop scoring. He comes up against his old side, Newcastle, who made the Carabao Cup final but have gone off the boil a little bit since then, losing 2. How do you see this one going? Forest lost their last game too, so they really need a result to consolidate that Champions League place.
Yeah, I think this is a great game. It's a great Super Sunday this weekend for sure. With this game and obviously City-Liverpool later on in the day. Um, it's got draw written all over it, but you never know if Forest start off the way they have started some games this season with a Chris Wood early goal and then possibly another little penalty or something like that. Then they could do it at St James's Park, and I feel like Newcastle will get themselves reared up for the big games against the big teams. And ultimately, this season, Forest are a big team, and this is a huge game, especially where Europe's concerned. If Newcastle win, they go 3 points behind Forest, and Forest's hopes of Champions League are slowly slithering away. Although they do still look likely, and like you said, they've got the quality. Chris Wood can't stop scoring. They've got Gibbs White, who is superb and will be for England in the coming years, I'm sure. So, yeah, it's a bit of a cagey affair. I don't think either side are going to want to go into it taking massive amounts of risks. But I'd go with a draw, either a 1-1 or a 2-2.
I think it could be set up to suit Forest because I think Newcastle struggle with breaking down low blocks a lot of the time, and I think Forest is probably the best in the league this year. And the danger they have in the counter attack with the players you mentioned, Gibbs White, who I think is a fantastic player and should be in the England squad, absolutely. I think he's been great for years. And Alanga has kicked on as well. And Hudson-Odoi could probably do a bit more, but he's more consistent than he used to be, and he's always a danger as well. But Alanga is the one for me that I think has elevated his game a good couple of levels, and yeah, he's tearing defences apart at the moment. So I agree, that will be a cracking game. Chronologically, I've gone a bit haywire there because that's a Sunday game and there's 2 Saturdays left, but it's okay, everyone can deal with that. So we have, there's 3 games left, sorry. 2 London derbies, Arsenal versus West Ham. Arsenal still in the hunt. They've been chasing Liverpool down and doing a pretty good job of it the last month or two. Liverpool dropped points in 2 of the last 3 games, while Arsenal have kept winning. Do they keep that momentum going against Graham Potter's side, Lewis?
Yeah, I definitely think they do. I mean, West Ham now sits 16th. I would like West Ham to win so they can go above United when United lose to Everton this weekend. But I don't see it happening. I think Arsenal are definitely going to want to capitalise on Liverpool's 4 points lost in the last 2 games and go within 5 points, which is it's almost City-esque chasing down the league leaders with coming into early spring into March with not many games left, just the 12 or 13 games to go. So yeah, I think Liverpool is. I'd probably go with a 4-0 for not Liverpool, sorry, Arsenal to batter West Ham.
And just on Ethan Nwaneri, I think if you can come into a side for the best player in Bukayo Saka and the team keeps winning and you look like one of the best players, I mean, how high is his ceiling?
Yeah, he's superb. I once went to St George's Park doing a little job there, and he was playing for England under 17s, and you could just see his quality. He looked effortless on the ball. He was playing centre mid that day, but I'm sure if he was playing off the right, it would have been a long, long day for the left back. So yeah, I think that his ceiling's it's so high, and he's almost looking like he's going to be better than Saka is as he gets older. Still at such a young age, but yeah, I mean to score against City, he's got that for a player that young to have that trademark finish already, the finesse into the top left. We've seen some of the best players have that finish. I mean, Salah's got it, and look at where his career's taken him. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see where Ethan's career does take him.
Definitely. And then we have Fulham versus Crystal Palace. I think Fulham have been another one of those teams that have surpassed expectations this season. Even in a lot of the games that they haven't won, I've really felt that they were the better team. They're defensively so sound. Marco Silva has always been known for being solid. And they've lost João Palhinha, but no one cares because Luka Susic has been fantastic for them, as has Sander Berge as well. So personally, I back them to get the job done against Palace, who themselves have had a resurgence over the last few months, completely steered themselves away from any relegation trouble that they were in at the start of the year. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I think Fulham will get the job done as well. We've seen Palace beat United over the recent weeks. Mateta's back now. And they've still got that quality with Eze, and Will Hughes has been doing quite well this season, and Adam Wharton's also coming back from injury now. But yeah, Fulham again they can still push for Europe. That they're in 8th at the minute. I mean, Europa League for them would be massive. A little cottage on the side of the River Thames, and they could be inviting the likes of God knows AC Milan or someone like that
Well,
down there. And
they're only 5 points away from City, so
yeah,
is Champions League a step too far because they're there or thereabouts?
yeah, I think the quality and depth of the squad. I think definitely if they do get Champions League, a lot of players will stay. Obviously, Anthony Robinson is definitely going to leave, in my opinion. Been, if not the best, one of the best left backs for full backs this season in the Premier League. I do think that is too far of a stretch for them, in my opinion. But on the weekend, I think they'll definitely defeat Palace and close the gap on the likes of Chelsea and Bournemouth.
Yeah, and Chelsea are involved in the last game we're going to look at. Last game we're going to look at. I don't know why I needed to say that twice, but they are away to Aston Villa, who are on a bit of a sticky run in the Premier League. Of course, they've had a great season in Europe, making it through in the top 8 in the group stage, but they haven't won in a month in the Premier League. They did get that 2-2 draw with Liverpool last time out, and they were a threat, although you would say Liverpool probably deserved it. Villa recruited really well in January. The big name, of course, was Marcus Rashford, but then you've got 3-time Champions League winner Marco Asensio as well, and Champions League finalist from last season, Daniel Marlin. So, yeah, that's about as good a January transfer window as you could hope for. Rashford looks like he's settling in. Maybe not so sure about the other two at this early stage. Chelsea lost their last 2 games, both to Brighton, as you mentioned, and are starting to tail off a little bit after what looked like well, there was title talks, wasn't there? All the players had to rubbish them, and since the title talks, they've kind of got off the boil. So, can Villa get back to winning ways here?
Yeah, I think they can. It's a late kick-off on a Saturday. I think that always what you think will happen does normally happen, especially with Brighton beating Chelsea last week. I think the same will happen here again. We've just seen how good Villa can be facing Liverpool, and like I said, they had chances to win it towards the end. I think Rashford's now coming out of his shell, which is great to see. All United fans lose their head. Why couldn't he have done this for us? Well, because he didn't receive the same respect, and I think the Villa fans
Exactly.
have already given that already. And yeah, you mentioned Asensio. I love players like that. The midfield maestro is in Asensio, and I think he has started off well. I don't think he's been talked about for a fair few years. I've not heard much about him on the grand scheme of things, but yeah, with a few new signings in January, and Villa, like you said, they're still in the Champions League. I know they've dropped off a bit in the Premier League, but if they can get a European spot for next season, it's still Europe. It's still massive for Villa fans, and they were in the Championship, winning a playoff final against Derby County how many years ago? 3 or 4. So yeah, you've got to. I know they're a big club, but you've got to look at it like that, and it's a big positive for the club signing the likes of Rashford, who is a huge player.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, great point. That is, if you'd have asked Villa fans a few years ago, would they take this situation right now? Yeah, of course they would. They'd snap your hand off. Marcus Rashford at Villa Park. You never would have thought it, but that is football, and that is why we love it. And that will about do for our Friday forecast today. I thank you all very much for listening. I've been Jools Probert, and thanks to Lewis for joining me. Stay tuned for all our coverage of that massive City versus Liverpool game on Sunday. We'll be bringing you reactions to that next week, alongside City's next game, which is to a bogey team Spurs. So we'll have lots of things previewing that one too. So we've been the Daily Manchester City podcast on the Global Sports Podcast Network. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.